Hey everybody, Rob here at etrailer.com. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Thule Helium Pro 2 hanging style bike rack on our 2019 Honda Civic. Now our Helium Pro is going to allow us to take up to 2 bikes with us to and from the trail. Now it is going to be a hanging style bike rack, so we're going to have 3 points of contact. We'll have 2 on the cross tube on the top, and then 1 on the vertical support. And the one on the vertical support is going to prevent any kind of movement or too much movement for our bikes, preventing that bike-to-bike contact and swaying back and forth too much. Now I know we've all been there. We get to the trail, we got our bikes, we're ready to ride, but then somebody forgets something that they left in the trunk. Well, fortunately you can see we have quite a bit of room here, so without anything we can still access our trunk. We have plenty of room to get anything we need in or out, but it is a little bit limited on space here. Well, there's another lever at the bottom of the mast, and when we have our arms folded down and we don't have any bikes on it, we can lift up on that lever, tilt it away, and now we can get a lot larger items in or out of our trunk without having to worry about it. We can simply close the trunk up, and we can grab our bike rack, rotate it up until you hear that audible click and it locks back into place. And some of you may be wondering where the name Helium Pro came from. Well, our Thule bike rack here is going to be made out of aluminum, so it is going to be extremely lightweight, which is going to come in handy when we do need to pull our bike rack out or put it in. It's only going to come in about 20 pounds, so again, it's going to be real lightweight, and that aluminum is going to make sure that it's going to be completely rust-proof. So that's just going to be nice, whether we leave it in a lot and we don't have to worry about picking up a heavy steel bike rack, or if we take it in and out a lot, we're not going to have to worry about all that weight. And one thing I really like that Thule's done with this bike rack is they actually include a cable lock so we can lock all of our bikes to the rack here at the end. Now it is going to have a metal lock core, so we're not going to have to worry about replacing it with a metal one if there's a plastic one in there. So that way we can make sure our bikes are going to be secure to the rack and we don't have to worry about any would-be thieves. But let's go ahead and take our bike off and take a closer look. Each strap is just going to have these ratcheting style or click style straps. You can just push on the tab and feed them through, and you'll notice on the inside we're going to have this nice soft rubber material, so we don't have to worry about any kind of scratches or abrasions on the frame of our bike. But we'll just loosen up all the straps, and we can take our bike and we'll set it aside. I always like to put the straps back, that way they're just not moving around in the wind too much when we're driving down the road. But now that our bikes are out of the way, we can take a closer look at the Cradles here. Now again, it's going to have this really nice soft type material, so our bikes will have a nice soft place to rest, but you also notice it has these little channels in there, and that's going to be specifically for any kind of cables for our brakes or linkage, anything like that, so that it has a spot to rest and they're not going to be getting crushed. Another thing that I like they've done with these Cradles is they're actually pivotable. You can see you can kind of rotate it to get that angle you need, which is going to help out a lot with those alternative frame bikes, kids bikes, or women's bikes, so we can get our bikes sitting on there nice and level. Another thing about the Cradles is that they're actually going to be spaced 7 inches apart from each other. Now that may seem like a random number, but it's actually the optimal spacing for your bikes. It's going to give us the most compact package that we can have, but also have the spacing so we have enough room so the handlebars aren't interfering with each other and the pedals aren't. Just make it a lot easier to get 2 bikes on there and not have to worry about which one goes where. Now being able to take 2 bikes with you is really nice. You and a friend can hit the trails, but as you can see we're adding quite a bit of space to the back of our Civic. So I'd like to give you a few measurements. If I measure from the very back of the bumper all the way to the edges of the arm, it's going to come in right about 34 and a half inches. Now at the closest point of our rack is going to be right at the back of the mast here at this lever. And you can see we got a pretty good distance to the back of the car. We're actually got a full 8 inches here. So we still have room to get in this area if we need to. Now as far as the ground clearance goes, if we look from our hitch, it's coming straight out. So even closer to the hitch, we're not losing anything. But right where our bike rack starts at the back here, it kind of tapers up. So it will give us a little bit better ground clearance. But if we measure at the very lowest point, it's going to come in just under 10 inches. So you may want to keep that in mind if you have a really steep driveway or if you go up a lot of hills getting to the trail. Now I realize we all don't have all that extra space. Maybe we just need to pull in our garage and we really don't want to pull out our bike rack from our Civic. Well, if we come to the top of the mast, there's going to be a gray lever back here. We'll just lift it up, Can actually rotate the arms down, and you can see it really takes it down in size. So if I measure from the same point at the back of the bumper, now we're only going to be adding right about 19.5 inches, so it did make quite a bit of difference. Now, one of the nicest features I think about our rack is the fact that it's going to be a tool-free design. Now, we're going to have this snug, tight stinger, so we'll just have it open, slide it in place, and it'll go right into the hitch pin hole, so you don't have to worry about having a socket to tighten anything up. You also notice we got this really large knob here with a lock on it. Well, that lock is going to be keyed alike to our cable lock as well, but this is actually going to be an anti-rattle device, so it'll take out all that slop and play inside the receiver tube. I actually grab the bike rack, start shaking it. You can see the entire car is moving and there's no movement inside the hitch there. Now, another thing I do want to mention is that this bike rack is going to work with the 1¼ by 1¼ hitches, as well as the larger 2" by 2" hitches with a sleeve that we can put on. So if you've got a few different cars in your family, you want to slap this in there as well, it will work with the larger hitches too.
Let's go ahead and take a look at it on our test course. Up first is going to be our slalom, which is going to simulate side-to-side action, like evasive maneuvering or taking a sharp turn. And now our alternating speed bunch, which is going to simulate driving over uneven pavement like potholes.
But with all that being said, I'm Rob here at etrailer.com, and that'll finish up your look at the Thule Helium Pro 2 hanging style bike rack on our 2019 Honda Civic.